week on Real Talk with Gene Price.
What is food? It nourishes us, it satisfies hunger, and it's essential for survival. But like art, music, movies, and books, food tells a story that we can pass on to generations. It is one of the oldest forms of communication and connection, and it's extremely powerful. It defines us. It tells us who we are. It tells us where we're from. It's part of our identity.
To think of cooking as an act of love. To prepare good food is to give health and happiness to those you love and yourself. My act of love starts early in the morning in my kitchen. Our kitchen is the center of our life, where we start and end our day. Good food has become the center of my life because it is the crossover of health and happiness, the two most important things in life.
Hello and good evening. Welcome to Real Talk with Gene Price. I am so glad that you tuned in today. We have such an exciting show. I think it's fitting. I think it's bubbly. I think it's up. We want you to go and tell people to come on because Real Talk is on live now. We want you to like. We want you to comment. We want you to share. I'm excited about this show. We're going to be talking about tonight keeping the taste in summer. So for those of you out there that like to cook and like to taste food, come on to Real Talk with Gene Price. Help me welcome my guest this evening. She's such a dear friend. I call her my BFF. We have such a wonderful time talking and spending time with each other. Shaniqua Cousins, come on out to Real Talk.
Hello, Real Talk family. Hello, my friend.
Hello. Thank you, Shaniqua, for being on Real Talk. Listen, I wish I was there where you are, where I can be there firsthand to see what you're doing. But to my viewing audience, Shaniqua is a phenomenal cook. She has so many well, you know what? Let me just go ahead and let her tell us a little bit about herself. Go ahead, Shaniqua.
Hello, Real Talk family. Gene, yes, definitely. One of my dearest friends, BFFs, and just loving her. So happy to be here. And I like to tell people that I'm a health and a life coach. And what that means is that I really help people to cultivate a lifestyle of wellness. And so tonight, our focus is about cooking. And I really want to make it like just simple. Because for me, it's like feeding your body, feeding your soul, and just having a good foundation of the good stuff. You know what I mean? And so for me, I like to keep it simple. I like to keep it easy. And I like to keep it delicious.
That is all right. Okay, so we want you to go ahead and do your thing. Why don't you kind of tell Shaniqua kind of what you're making? Let's start with what you're making.
So this is I got this recipe. I saw Tia Mowry making this dish like a couple of years ago. And it's a bacon maple onion chicken. Ooh. And so what I did earlier was I took some chicken thighs. I started with some organic chicken thighs and I marinated them in some Dijon mustard. Mm-hmm. And I also seasoned them with some pink salt, some black peppercorns, and a little garlic powder, a little onion powder, and a little smoked paprika. So I just did a basic fry on the pan fry, and I used some olive oil. And so for me, it's all about the foundation. So as a health coach, I don't typically teach people how to diet. I don't believe in dieting and deprivation. Right. I believe that if you start with good quality ingredients, you don't really have to worry about what you're consuming.
Right.
So that's like point number one for everyone on the show tonight. Start with good quality ingredients. So for me, starting with some nice organic chicken thighs. We can get chicken thighs just about anywhere, but you want to get organic chicken thighs.
Right.
Because you reduce the likelihood of having all of those antibiotics and all the other things that we just don't need to be consuming, right? And so the other thing that I wanted to do was make sure I started with something as simple as peppercorns versus ground pepper.
Well, you know what? I just want to stop you. I got to go back. You said something. I'm sorry. You said something that was so powerful, right? So I want to go back. You said the chicken is organic chicken thighs, right?
Yep.
So what is your take on a correlation between using healthy, fresh, organic ingredients how, like, in other words, does that make you feel more energized because of it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have all that those other ingredients in it that are good for us?
Yeah. So really, for me, for people who are not big on cooking, the first step is to just kind of walk yourself into. So, say for instance, if you eat out typically 5 times a week,
Right.
or say you eat out 7 times a week. Let's just say 7 times. Try to back into just at least figuring out how to consume and cook what you're eating. So you may go from 7 days a week down to say, let's 5 days a week, right? And if you could just focus on cooking the food, step one would be to eat food in its natural state as possible.
Okay.
So even before you get into the organic versus conventional, let's just get you into actually preparing your own food. Because if you prepare it, you're going to know what's in it.
That's
Now,
right.
when you get down to that level of if I'm controlling what I'm cooking, when you look at conventional food, meaning food that animals that are eating corn and other things that they probably should be eating compared to organic animals that are eating things that they should be naturally consuming, bugs, grass if it's a cow, things like that. Those are what animals should be eating on. And
Right.
so the quality of that food is going to be much better versus an animal eating things that it shouldn't be eating.
Right.
So if we're going to be consuming animal products and or if we're going to be consuming plant products, you want to get them in their natural state, right? So organic veggies don't have all the pesticides and things on them. So we want to make sure we're consuming vegetables that don't have those pesticides on them because we're consuming them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go from, if we're eating out 7 days a week, let's just back it in, give ourselves a realistic goal that works for us, and let's just bring it in and say, you know what? I'm going to cook 3 times this week. And if I'm going to cook it, let me at least start with the best quality products that I can afford to
Yes.
buy. Okay?
That makes a lot of sense. It does. It does.
Go ahead.
No, so I want to go back one more. I want to go back to what you're going to do with you prep that. How important is prepping for as far as time management?
It is so crucial, right? So let me put these in here because my pan is getting a little hot. So
Right, because you're cooking, I'm not.
yes. Jean, the pan is smoking.
It's smoking. Put the vegetables in that pan. I'm talking and I'm going to burn
I
your.
have some I cut up some fresh squash,
Okay.
red onions, and white onions. And you know why? Look at the color profile here, right?
Beautiful.
You want to eat with color. That's really important. You want to consume foods that have a lot of color in them.
Okay.
Because color means nutrients. They're more nutrient dense. And
Okay.
so you went back and you said, what was the question that you had?
I wanted to talk because everything is prepped. So I wanted you to kind of just talk to us for a few minutes about that prepping is so important for as far as time management is concerned.
It is. So let's go back one more step.
Sure.
When it comes to quality, you also want to be looking at the quantity and what you're eating and really having control over those things, right? So when it comes to prepping, getting yourself on let's just get to the goal setting. If I'm going to eat 3 times, if I'm going to cook it 3 times a week, what do I need? And a lot of us, we're stressed for time, right? And so we're going to run out. And a lot of times we're buying a lot of processed, prepackaged, already sliced, already diced things, right? And while there's nothing wrong with that, if you can buy vegetables in bulk, or you can buy vegetables from your local market compared to things coming 30 miles or 40 miles or 100 miles from your home, they're going to be fresher. They're going to be better for you. So if you have already set a goal for yourself, time management is key, right? Time to prep the food, time to decide on what we're eating, when we're eating it, all of those things. You want to take that into consideration because it does take time to prep your food.
Right.
And so what I did, I knew I needed to be here, so I had to take the time to dice the veggies. I didn't buy these veggies diced. I took the time, diced the veggies, washed them, the whole 9. So you want to take the holistic picture and keep the holistic picture in mind whenever you're cooking. So it is about not just cooking at home, but making sure you're setting yourself up. You're clearing the clutter from your schedule. You're clearing the clutter from all the other areas in your life so that you can win at this here cooking at home. And really cooking at home is really about consuming what you're eating. A lot of times we don't feel well because we're bogged down with the foods we eat. Believe it or not.
That's true.
our systems are bogged down because we have no idea of what we actually consumed because we didn't partake in the preparation of the food.
Right.
We didn't partake in understanding the ingredients that are in the food. And so a lot of times we're putting things into our tank, we're putting things into our system, and we have no idea of what we're putting into our system.
Yeah, it's so true.
So,
So the vegetables that you're making, and I see they're cut up and everything. Do they normally take about how much time for the vegetables to get ready?
oh, that's like a 5-minute job.
That
So
is.
so for me, getting vegetables from my local farmer's market is so important, or my local health food store. It's literally right around the corner from my house. And so at the beginning of the week, I'm figuring out what is it that I'm going to be eating this week and what vegetables do I want to have, because we don't want to have food waste.
Right.
So having a schedule and having a target is so key for what you're doing. And then the summertime is so great because we have an abundance of fresh fruit and veggies that are just popping out in the garden, right? And then if you don't have fresh fruit and veggies, I would ask that you move to frozen. So if you want to get it in the lineup, you want to start with as fresh as possible, frozen, and then let canned veggies be a last resort.
Right.
Like, literally. And here's why. You
Yeah.
have a lot of aluminum, you have a lot of sodium.
Yes.
So when it comes to, remember the last time I was on the show, I talked about shopping, and you should shop the perimeter of a supermarket before you shop the middle, because everything that's in the middle, most of the stuff that's in the middle, most of it, not all of it, but most of it, it has a shelf life. And if something is going to sit on the shelf, it has to have preservatives and sodium and all the things to keep it on the shelf for longer.
Right.
This stuff is going to go bad longer because you should be consuming it more often.
Right, absolutely. So I'm going to just go back because one of our guests just chimed in. She's very faithful. She's asking, what do you make? Shanika Elise is making maple brown chicken. Maple
bacon onion chicken.
Maple bacon onion chicken. So at least that's what Shanique was making. And now she has these beautiful, colorful vegetables, and she's kind of mixing all that up. Shaniqua, for the audience that's listening, as you're cooking your vegetables, you didn't start right here. This is not where the journey started.
No.
Tell us, how did all this begin? We could have talked about it before, but we have different people that are watching. How did this journey start?
So for me, it started to set in when I had my daughter. So, and my daughter is now, she will be 18 in September. But when I started, when I found that I was pregnant, I took a pause because I was like, I ate out. I'm living my best life. I'm a Southern girl, country girl. We didn't eat out a lot. And I thought eating out meant this is living my best life. But it really wasn't. And so it wasn't until I was pregnant and I started to think about what I was consuming and really not having an idea on what I was consuming for the most part of my diet. I had no control over it. I was just eating what someone else gave me, right? And so I gave it some forethought as far as, wait a minute, now what is my daughter going to be consuming? And so it was a search for good quality foods for her is where it started when I was actually pregnant, making sure I was doing the best that I could do. And then it just became this lifelong journey. I switched what we were consuming. I did a lot of research on the difference between conventional foods versus organic foods, and just looking at the preservatives and additives and things like that were in the food. And that's where I started.
So on that journey, Shaniqua, and thank you for explaining that, were there any setbacks that you can share with the viewing audience? Because every journey every journey is a journey. And while you're on that journey, you have some highs, you have some lows. Can you kind of share some of the setbacks? Not too personal, but just kind of, be transparent a little bit about it, because where you are now, we're like, oh my, it's amazing. So I know there had to be some kind of setbacks.
Yeah. So I would say, to your point, any journey, when you've been doing something for so long and it's what you know, you're in the habit of doing it, right? And so as a coach, a big part of what I'm helping people do is to break the habit. And so habit is about being comfortable and being familiar with something, right? It isn't until we put something else in its place that we become familiar and comfortable with something else. And so there were a lot of times where why am I the lady in the supermarket reading the back of the label, trying to figure things out, can't spell half the words, don't know what it means, and just feeling overwhelmed. I didn't know the difference between natural, organic, conventional. I just didn't have any idea. And so the challenge for me was really having a clear understanding on what I was reading. What should I be having? What shouldn't I be having? And it took years to become comfortable with this whole thing. And that's not to scare anyone. I just don't want someone to think like I've been living this way my whole life. But it took years because I was committed to a lifestyle of wellness, not dieting, not depriving myself, but a lifestyle. And so I took a holistic view of the foods, the supplements that I'm eating, the water that I'm consuming, all of the things that go in my body and on my skin, not just in my body, but think about the products that we use in our skin. And so I just took a step back and allowed myself to just study. And I still do it to this day. A lot of it comes like second nature to me now because I've been doing it for so long. And quite frankly, I enjoy the subject. I enjoy learning. I enjoy teaching people and seeing people live their best lives. And so it does come second nature now, but this is years of just studying and being very intentional. And then just on a spiritual level, this is a temple. This really is our temple. And we want to treat it with the best things that we can, according to our budget, according to the resources that we're believing that's available to us, all those things considered. It's just that was just my approach to it. And there's still a lot of things that I don't know, but I'm committed to the lifestyle.
Right. And I love that, Shaniqua. That's such a great key about it's a lifestyle. It's not something that you're just doing haphazard. It's a lifestyle change. It's a lifestyle of commitment. And I love it because that takes commitment. It takes consistency. It really takes that to just continue on this path that you're on. So let's go back for a second because the question's on the table of what are the ingredients that you did put in the chicken? Can you share what you're putting in the vegetables too? Because that looks really good.
Okay, so we have a combination of red onions, white onions, and some zucchini. Then the only thing I did was I took, and so for the maple onion bacon situation, we have the onions. I just added in some color because I believe you want to eat with color, so I did red and white. For the maple syrup, I'm using 100% maple syrup. You want to make sure your bottle says 100%. In this sauce here, I have a combination of some reduced sodium soy. I did some water, some Dijon mustard, a splash of apple cider vinegar, and what else did I put in here? Oh, and the actual maple. So I'm going to deglaze the pan with this sauce. I'm going to put that in. And then it's going to thicken up because we have the maple syrup in there. So I'm going to then take it, put the chicken back in the pan, and I'm going to put the lid on and let it all come to a simmer while we're talking. And then for those of you that just joined us, what I did earlier was I took some organic chicken thighs and I basically browned them in some extra virgin olive.
Okay, I think we might have had a disconnect, but it's okay because Shaniqua was going to come back. Listen, for those of you that are watching, Renee, Elise, Catherine, write something in the chat. Oh, there she is. But put some questions in the chat anyway because we want Shaniqua to be able to answer any questions that you may have. And Catherine also is an amazing cook. So put your questions in the chat and we'll go right back to Shaniqua. Are we back with her? All right, she'll be coming back in a few minutes. So Shaniqua gave us some good insight on what she's making. She talked about those beautiful vegetables. And I don't know, do you guys cook? Some of you do. Renee and Catherine, you all cook, Elise. Making those vegetables with the color. I thought that was so good because it allows for the plate to look good, allows what you're making to look good. So I'm excited about that as well. So if you have any questions, we want you to put it in the chat. We want you to ask those. Okay, Shaniqua is back. Can you hear us, Shaniqua?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Well, go ahead. Well, let me tell you this. Catherine chimed in. Let me tell you, Shaniqua, Catherine is an excellent cook as well. So you have a cook looking at a cook. So you continue.
So what I did was I was sharing that I browned off some chicken thighs, and earlier I did some Dijon mustard and some pink salt, peppercorns, some ground garlic powder and onion powder. Now, here's my tip when it comes to peppercorns versus ground pepper. You want to consider. You see this right here? This is what you want your pepper to look like. You want to have the actual peppercorns because oxidation is key. The stuff that's already ground for you, it oxidizes faster than if you are literally grinding up your own pepper. So that's why you would want to make sure you're using peppercorns. When it comes to oil, that's very key for what you're consuming. The biggest difference between home cooked food is the quality. Is one big difference. I'll say that one big difference is the quality of the oils that we're consuming. A lot of the oils out in the stuff that's already prepackaged or the stuff that may come from other restaurants due to cost is the quality of the oils. So I usually start with extra virgin olive oil. Now, I just so happen to have my own line of extra virgin olive oil.
Yes.
This is my own private stock of extra virgin olive oil because it's a good, healthy fat. And if you start with the quality ingredients, again, you're not worried about calories. Do we have calorie counters on here, Jean? Anybody counting calories?
Anybody counting calories that's on here? Listen.
Tell us in the thing.
Tell us in the chat if you're counting calories.
I want to know, because if you are counting calories, here's a free tip for you. If you are counting calories, I want you to stop thinking about calories and think about chemicals. You want to count chemicals, not calories.
Okay.
So what we have here, we're not thinking about chemicals. We're not thinking about calories, right? So on the back of a label, if it's a lot of chemicals, you probably shouldn't be eating it. So don't look at the calorie count, look at the chemical count. Okay. And then when you're reading the back of a label, the order on the back of the label is based on the amount of that substance that's in that particular, the amount of how much of the substance is in that particular thing. So, and it's listed in that order. So if water is the first ingredient, the bulk of that product is water. If sugar is the first ingredient, the bulk of that product is sugar, and so on and so forth. So just think about that. No calories, think about chemicals. And if there's a chemical in something, we probably don't want to be consuming that most often.
Right. Well, Carla chimed in and she said, yes, she was counting calories, but Shaniqua just gave us some good help between chemicals. I never knew that, like, as far as the chemicals and the calories. That is very informative. Yeah. That's really, really informative. Now, you said you use the extra virgin olive oil, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I have to ask the question, how did it start where you began to make your own olive oil? But I'm going to have you answer when I come from the commercial break. I'm going to have you answer. Guess what, audience? Shaniqua has a giveaway. So you don't want to miss this. Make sure you come back after the commercial break because you want to hear about this giveaway. We will be right back. We'll be right back. This week on Real Talk with Jean Price.
What is food? It nourishes us, it satisfies hunger, and it's essential for survival. But like art, music, movies, and books, food tells a story that we can pass on to generations. It is one of the oldest forms of communication and connection, and it's extremely powerful. It defines us. It tells us who we are. It tells us where we're from. It's part of our identity.
To think of cooking as an act of love. To prepare good food is to give health and happiness to those you love and yourself. My act of love starts early in the morning in my kitchen. Our kitchen is the center of our life, where we start and end our day. Good food has become the center of my life because it is the crossover of health and happiness, the two most important things in life.
And listen, I'm glad you tuned in. We have a few more minutes with my amazing guest who's helping us understand what it's like between chemicals and oils and so forth, cooking up a fantastic meal. So help me welcome back my guest, Shaniqua Cousins, to Real Talk with Jean Price. Shaniqua! You're muted. I think you're muted.
Oh, am I? Can you hear
No,
me?
I think we can hear you now. Okay,
Okay.
listen to my audience. She has the top on the pan, so I'm assuming that it's a lot going on in there.
It's everything is simmering now.
Is
It's
it?
simmering.
So
Let me give you a little peek. It's
I hope my
simmering.
audience can see this because this is looking really good.
Yes.
Really good.
It's all coming together.
Before
So
we
I
went to
love
the break, right, Shaniqua?
it. Say that
You were
again.
right before we went to the commercial break. We wanted you to kind of tell us again. First of all, this food looks absolutely amazing, but we want to talk a little bit more. So I want you to go ahead and share because I want you all to write some questions in the chat. So you can go
Yeah,
ahead and continue. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, you can go ahead and continue.
Oh,
With
okay. So you were asking about oils. How did I start with the oils?
yeah,
So again, if any of you do a research on the Mediterranean diet, one of the things that you're going to find is a good quality olive oil is laced throughout their diet. They live longer. Like olive oil is actually olives are fruits. And so the oil from that particular fruit is a very good fat. So for me, it was like a no-brainer after consuming olive oil for years that I would turn it into a business, particularly because I do this type of venue often. And so it was like a no-brainer.
yeah.
The things that you use most often, the things that you do most naturally, you could probably turn it into a business. How about that? And so that's what I did with my olive oil along with my cookbook. Because again, for me, it is about how do I give people resources to help cultivate a lifestyle of wellness. And the olive oil and the cookbook and other things are just a part of that, helping people to transform into a lifestyle of wellness. And so, with that, you mentioned the giveaway earlier.
Yes. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure you said Carla and other people are probably taking notes and they're like, what did she say? Do this, do that. Well, guess what? I got you guys covered. I have my 7-step guide to transfer from a processed food diet to a whole foods diet. So this is my guide and it tells you how to do it step by step. So if you're consuming a lot of processed foods, if you're eating out often, this guide is a 7-step guide to transition your diet. Now, to get that guide, only thing you need to do, this is the only thing you need to do, go to my website, put in your email address, and it'll have the timestamp on for today, and this guide will be sent directly to you. And so that's my gift for you guys. A lot of the things that I said tonight, it's already in this guide and there's a lot more. So I'm just happy to share the wealth with you all. So
Wow.
that's the
Giveaway. So let me ask you, Shaniqua, is there any signature ingredient in all your meals that you make that you definitely use all the time besides your oil?
giveaway. Definitely garlic. I use a lot of fresh garlic compared to, let me grab it. Garlic has so many different benefits in it. A lot of fresh garlic, a lot of fresh onions. You ever notice that when you were sick, your mom would make what? Chicken soup, right? And so it's the onions, the celery, the carrots, it's all of those nutrients that help to really make us better. So I try to really cook like our grandmothers cooked, right? And so the signature things are like garlic for me. I use pink salt versus white salt because pink salt is natural compared to white salt. That's a lot of processed stuff. Sorry, hold on 1 second.
It's okay.
Yeah, so like white salt is already processed, it's bleached. So I really try to just eat food that's in this natural state. Now that's not to say I never eat out. So let me just give you also this. It's like a 80-20 split for me. 80% of what I eat, I control it. I leave the 20% for hanging out, going over to a friend's, going out to dinner, things like that. But if you can consume or control about 80% of what you're consuming, your entire vitality changes. Because food has a direct impact and input into how we show up. Just keep that in mind.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So can we all take a peek and see what you have in the pot and see how far it's going?
Yes. It's actually done because the chicken really was done.
Okay, so let's see.
Yeah. The chicken was really done.
at this
So
meal.
I can dish this right on up for you, Jean.
Okay.
Oh, and it wouldn't be maple bacon onion chicken without bacon. So this is bacon. This is bacon that I seared off earlier. And when you're buying bacon, another key point for bacon is that you want to buy bacon that's nitrate and nitrite free. Those are the preservatives that are in bacon that we don't need. So if you're going to consume pork bacon, that is, you want to make sure it doesn't have any of the preservatives. And so you don't want to be shaking your bacon from a thing. Just take some time, pop it into an oven, and then just chop it up, and there you go. Bacon, onion, maple chicken with veggies. Served up and ready to go.
So guys, look at this. I want you to take a look at this meal. This is so good. And while you're doing that, Shaniqua, is there any substitute? I know you said pink salt, but is there a substitute if someone didn't want to use any salt at all?
Just use herbs. Use flavor. You want to flavor your food. I don't like telling people when you eat your food, you should want to consume it. So use spices. Get your garlic. Up your onion. Play around with spices. Don't limit yourself in that area. Because you want to be, what you're really trying to do is add flavor. Now, pink salt, why I use pink salt is because it's natural. And salt actually draws out the flavor in food. So keep that in mind.
Okay, got it.
You want it to draw out the flavor. You don't want it to keep it in there. We need to have it drawn out so we can taste it. So don't be afraid of salt. Be afraid of the bad stuff.
Bad
You
salt.
don't want the white bleached processed stuff. You want good salt, right?
Yes.
So look at that.
Look at this, guys. Look at this. Those that are watching tonight on our talk show.
Here we go.
Wow, that's amazing.
And so total time for this, because I started the chicken a little earlier, you're talking about maybe a 35-minute meal here that you could have on the table. If you took the time, you prepped up your veggies, you let your chicken, you season up your chicken or marinate your chicken like a half hour prior, you're talking about a 30-minute meal here.
Wow, that's beautiful. Carla chimed in, Shaniqua, and said, try green salt. It's made from a plant. It's 50% less sodium. I've never heard of green salt.
I have not heard of that. Thank you, Carla. I definitely will give it a try.
Now, I do have another question. Listen, write questions in the chat because I have a question.
Yeah.
Shaniqua, what are your thoughts on starches? Because I'm going through a phase where I just don't want to eat starches right now. But that is such a healthy meal. Would my starch intake, would it really I'm trying to avoid starches. So how can I eat that and have a good starch?
Well, I'm a Southern girl, South Carolina, the beach. So there's going to be some rice in here when we get off of the live. So I'm just saying, it's going to be some rice and it's probably going to be white. So for me, though, think about this. You want to load up on the things that's better for you and reduce the stuff that's not. So here's a rule of thumb when it comes to starches. If it comes in a bag, we probably want to limit up the consumption. So anything that comes in a bag. So a potato probably won't come in a bag if you're getting it, naturally. Rice is good. Why won't I say rice is good? Because when you're stripping away all the natural stuff on the rice to get it down to make it white rice. So you just want to eat food in its natural phase. Now, if you want to avoid starch, just avoid it. But for me, I like to say, don't deprive yourself. Eat the best quality versions of the food that you're going to eat. Yeah. Load up on the better things. And then because we don't want to walk around feeling guilty about eating foods. Right. We want to consume and feel good about it. But eat the bulk of it in this natural, as close to its natural state as possible.
Right. Okay. So what would be a good substitute for sugar? For those that, what would you do instead of regular white sugar? Because you mentioned about the salt, right? You mentioned white sugar, rather, and it's bleach. We know white sugar is bleach. What's another substitute that people can use?
So like I use some natural maple syrup. Okay. So when you read the back of this bottle, 100% maple syrup. That's the only thing in this bottle. So if you want to use that, that's one. Believe it or not, stevia actually comes from a plant. So stevia is another substitute if you wanted to use that. It's not a 100% natural sugar, if you would, but it is very closer it's a much closer product to natural. I'm using the air quotes than say like something that's the stuff in the yellow packet or the pink packet or anything like that, right? So you just want to just really think natural products.
Okay.
So, but maple syrup, 100%, not the stuff with the lady on the front, the whole, no. 100% maple syrup is something that you could be using as a substitute. And I use a lot of raw organic honey. Like think of your local, so you do a there's a benefit of the raw organic honey because people who have allergies, think about it, that those natural allergens is in your raw local organic honeys. So that's something also that I use as a substitute for sugar.
Wow. Okay. So now you finished this meal. It looks amazing.
Mhm.
How long would this meal last? Because I mean, would you
Oh,
like
look,
just
that's a good one. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chicken thighs here. So
Yeah.
if you wanted to do one thigh per person, you fed 5 people here with this meal.
Okay.
So that's one night. Now, if it's just you or if it's 2 of you, you split it in half. We have dinner tonight, lunch tomorrow. So if it's more of you, you add in 2, 3, 4 more chicken thighs. So you know what I'm saying? Because so for me, I'm glad you said that too, because the way that I cook, I typically cook just because I want to have leftovers to have it for another meal option. So I cook once, eat twice. Think about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I asked that question because I'm like, that's a lot of chicken in that pan.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we gonna do with the rest of that chicken?
Yeah,
But
my daughter would we definitely cook once, eat twice, sometimes 3 times. And I like to cook every day, I cook about just about every day, except for Saturdays.
okay.
So, and then if I don't want to cook, I don't cook because I'm pretty sure I'll have leftovers or something like that. But keeping a well-stocked pantry and refrigerator and freezer is very key.
Right.
That's one of the things that I talk about in my cookbook. So I didn't want to just tell people to go and cook foods. I talked to you about the things that I keep in my freezer, my pantry, and my fridge. Because if you're not prepared, you're gonna feel stressed, you're gonna feel scattered, and you're probably gonna go and get the quick fix things, right? So let's be prepared for what we're doing. So we need to set an intention. We need to set a goal. A goal has a target. So how many meals? When are we gonna consume it?
Right.
What time? What do I need? And then we want to execute on it, right? So we want to make sure we're executing on the goals. So really give it some thought and some intentionality, because at the end of the day, we want to be winning in our lives, right? You want to be winning in your body. You want to be winning in your health. And we need these bodies to do the things that we've been called to do. And food plays a huge role in that. It's a huge role. So don't outsource the thinking about the ingredients and the quality of the ingredients to someone else. Let's bring that back into our own kitchens.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Shaniqua, because I'm in a season where you said it. I want to make sure my body doesn't sue me for its indiscretions.
Yes, that's a good one.
And I take no credit for that one. That came from my husband, to be honest with you.
I'll take it too.
Yeah, you can take
it tomorrow.
Feel free to use it. Feel free. And it's really true because I'm realizing lately for the last 2 weeks, I really have been intentional about healthy, like you're saying, not a feeling of like, oh my God, I'm depriving myself, but I'm literally watching myself eat more healthy. And can I tell you, now that I've been doing it, I'm not even as hungry because normally I'll eat some junk in between there. I just find that it's a healthy way of life.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about it's not just spiritually, I want to be healthy. It's not just emotionally, but we do have to add to that list physically. Physically, I do. So we're wrapping up with Shaniqua. So what is, give me my audience a good dose of advice. Give us your last final words. Tell us what to do. Don't forget to talk about your giveaway, and let's talk about that cookbook one more time as well.
Okay. At the end of the day, I want people to feel like they deserve to live a good quality life. Like you actually deserve to do that, right? And a big part of living the quality lives that we deserve is having an intention, setting an intention. If focusing on a lifestyle of wellness, I'm not talking about a temporary fix to get into a swimsuit or to go on a trip or anything like that. If your intention is a lifestyle of wellness, make sure that you're putting all of the best things before you. You're making the best choices based on your budget, your intentions, and all of those things, so that you can execute that lifestyle, so that it just becomes the way of being. So that requires a disruption of old habits and old beliefs and patterns, and in its place, putting in good quality things. Today, we just so happen talking about food, which has a huge impact and input into our vitality. So we want to be living life, like we want to be feeling great doing the things that we're doing and showing up and being our best selves. So for me, I have the Shaniqua Cousins Flavored with Love collection. So that's a cookbook, that's olive oil, and then also the giveaway today was my 7-step guide to transition from highly processed foods to a whole foods diet. So we want to get away from the processed stuff and move more toward whole foods. So that's whole ingredients, vegetables, meats, things that you actually can recognize, things that don't have a label on it. And if you need help with that, this free guide is here for you to utilize. The only thing you would need to do is go to ShaniquaCousins.com, put in your email address. We'll see the timestamp and we'll send it over to you today.
Wow. Listen, you heard that. You got to do that today. Today is the day you get to give away. I think that sounded really good right there, right?
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. I just want to thank my beautiful friend for joining me tonight on Real Talk. Listen, you want to follow her. You want to get her products. I know her personally. She means what she says. Beautiful person inside and out. And I want to thank Renee, Elise, Catherine, Carla, and those that are watching tonight. Thank you for joining us on Real Talk. Now, listen, we got some good stuff planned for the summer. It's a little hot outside, but you're going to stay cool. But join us every Wednesday at 6:30. Thank you, Shaniqua. See you next week.
All right, you take care. All right.